Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for this Tap In Live webinar. This will be an interactive session, so if anyone has questions, you are all muted, but if you have a question or anything you would like to ask or share, please raise your hand on the control panel on the right side of your screen. We're going to take a jump into revisiting the inspection checklist. I had some requests for this, and I thought this was the right time of the year to do this. So when we talk about checklists, anytime we go on a service call, we have a bunch of tools available to us to help us identify customers' needs. So going through a checklist is a best practice, whether it's a tune-up or a demand service call. A lot of times folks really kind of associate checklists with something that only happens on the inspections, if we're going out on SPP or a system check or something like that. But I think the inspection checklist is a fantastic tool for you to use on any type of call, because if you're using the service system and following that and setting the agenda, we state right up front that we're going to do a thorough evaluation of their system, and should we notice anything that deserves your attention, is it all right for me to share that with you? So this is the tool that helps you do that, and it's also a fantastic tool for you to have talking points and dialogue with the customer throughout this process. So what I've done is I've updated this webinar with a couple of the newer tools that we've developed over the last year or so, and I'd like to share some of those things with you today. So this tool supports the summary of findings. As we go through the summary of findings, the inspection checklists are meant to help us populate the observations in the top of the summary of findings. So observations are things that the customer shares with us, things that we notice, things that we uncover by asking lifestyle questions, those types of things. Here's an example of a checklist, and this is on the Nexstar site. It's the service partner plan for home plumbing evaluation. And I know this is a little hard to see, but it's on your Nexstar site. You can go ahead and pull that up and go through it. And this just goes through all of the common plumbing systems throughout a typical home. And every home, you know, might have some variations, like more bathrooms, fewer bathrooms. That's fine. You know, you can use multiple forms if need be. But the more respect, importance, attention that you put on this evaluation and share with the customer, the better this tool is for you. All right. If this tool gets pencil whipped and we don't really put a lot of energy and we don't really have dialogues with the customer about this, it's really not going to be a very helpful tool for us. All right. Let's take a moment. Now, this is the new plumbing system evaluation tool. This is a pretty new tool for us. It's been released in the service system training, and it's just a little bit user-friendly. And there's actually two sides to this, or two sheets to this. I just put the one up there so we can get a little bit better look at it. As a matter of fact, let me pull up a little better illustration. I can blow this up a little bit. So the plumbing system evaluation tool gives you some information. Of course, you'll personalize this for your own business, put your logo on there and all this type of stuff. But you've got blocks. Is this a service partner plan or a non-service partner plan? Is it a system check? Is it a demand call? What type of call is this? And again, it doesn't matter if it's an SPP or non-SPP, demand call or system check. This tool is a fantastic tool to use at both times. You've also got the red and green visual keys here. We checked it okay and it's saved at this time. Or if it's red, you know, this is an issue. We have something that might deserve your attention, right? So we're going to go through some basic things: emergency shutoff, pressure regulator valve, and we put the PSI, recommended PSI, right on there. So again, when we show this to the customer and we're going through the checklist, if it's above 80 PSI, that's a red item. If it's below 80 PSI, then you're probably green. We're also going to look at the condition of the PRV. Do we have a backflow prevention device? And again, may or may not apply to your particular customer, but everything that we go through here is a great talking point. You know, having discussions about the water heater, the condition of the water heater, the warranty, the age, the scale. These are great things that lead into conversations for either new water heaters or possibly even tankless or whole house filtration systems, right? So the more we educate the customer with this tool along the way, the more successful it's going to be. And that's really what this is all about. This tool is not for selling. This is not hey, let me, this is red, so let me close this right now. That's what this is not about. This is an education tool so that as we go through this with our customer, we educate them and we capture as much of the pain points or things possibly that the customer didn't even know anything at all about. And most of the time that's going to be the case. We're professionals, we're expert plumbers or HVAC guys or electricians. And when we go through these checklists, we know what's good or bad, but our customers are not going to. And that's why this is such an important educational tool for us to go through. On the right side, we've got some basic information. And again, for those of you that are on operating systems where you can actually capture this data and put this into your system, this is solid gold for anyone that comes out there after you in the future. So even if we don't get the customer involved in a solution today, but this checklist gets captured in your Successware, your Service Titan, or whatever operating system you've got, this is a fantastic tool to be part of that customer's record. So the next technician that goes out there can review the inspection checklist from the previous plumber, and there's going to be and you want to find some commonality there. All right. So when you notice something, this gives you the peace of mind that this is not the first time the customer's heard it, and now maybe it's time we need to act on this. And on the right side, we've got red or green, pass or fail. Okay. And you've got a lot of stuff on here. And again, CO test for parts per million. If it's something that you're really not equipped to do, then put an NA on there. If that's something that you charge additional to perform a CO test, then that might be a reason why we don't do that. But don't put a green arrow on something that you're not actually doing. Just put an NA on there, not applicable. Do we see evidence of condensation, evidence of backdrafting, all these types of things? And again, this is also a tool that could really save your bacon in the future. Heaven forbid there is a problem with this customer system. We've got documentation that we checked it and there was no problem at that time, or we have documentation that yes, we did advise the customer of this and the customer chose not to do it. But if you don't have documentation that backs your expert evaluation of the system, it covers you that you did advise the customer that they have a very serious condition in their house, you could be opening yourself up for possible exposure or liability because the perception would be that you didn't do your job. Okay, so this tool is your friend. So it gets into, again, sump pump. Many homes have sumps, some don't. And that would be an NA item if they don't. Sewage ejection pump. But if they've got one, there you go. Great talking point. And then here's the second side of this. Water closet, dye test, flush, a lot of toilet related stuff. You've got space for 5 bathrooms up here. All right. And if you offer a solution, for a customer and, they've got something going on in bathrooms 1 and 2, this really is a logical place for you to suggest maybe we should take care of all 5 bathrooms since they're all the same age. If you're in a home that's in that just starting to enter the repair cycle, perhaps a 5 to 7 year old home, it was a new construction home, chances are when you find an area that needs action in a 1 bathroom, it's going to be the same thing required in all 5 of them. So, this is a great way to have those types of conversations. And we've got kitchen areas, tub, shower, laundry, washing machine hoses. I would personally probably even put the age of the washing machine hoses in there if the customer has any idea. But we all know that that's an item that gets very overlooked, but can cause tremendous property damage. So these are all really important points. And then you've got some blank spaces on the very bottom for notes. Okay, any questions so far? All right. So let's move on to our next tool. Okay. HVAC evaluation tool. And again, this is another newer tool that we've got, just going to pull this up again. This is a 2-page tool, HVAC system evaluation tool, and got some lot of points on there. Outdoor temp, outdoor wet bulb, indoor wet bulb. Of course, data that we should be capturing anyway if we're doing a HVAC refrigerant check. If we're checking for superheater, subcool, these are important data points that we're probably getting anyway. That's important. Thermostat evaluation, duct condition, insulation integrity, duct integrity, return air registers, temperature of the rooms. This is a fantastic checklist. And for you to have these types of conversations, and again, the customer in a perfect world would be with you on any of these evaluation checklists while you're going through them, because again, we're not selling off these, we're educating. So with the customers with you and you're able to educate them as you go through these things, and you're patient and articulate and you help share this information with them, these are great ways to build credibility with your customer and, for them to feel more comfortable with you and asking you questions that they might not normally ask. But if they feel like you're patient and you're an educator, they're going to think of more and more things to ask you, and that's going to lead into more opportunity because they might have things that they want or might have forgotten that they wanted. Lifestyle type improvements. Next, we've got the reference guide. Give you some data points where you can actually put some filter or some temperature points in here. So you get your temperature differential, things like that. Various returns, supply temps, and again, good data to have from a diagnostic standpoint, and also good data to have. Heaven forbid there is a problem. Everything was fine when we were out there, and matter of fact, here's the documentation for those temperatures. All right, or here's the documentation that there was a problem, and we did make mention of that. All right, so that's the HVAC evaluation tool. And if anyone would like to spend more time on these individually, please don't hesitate to pop me an email. We'll set up a call, and I'm happy to go through these in greater detail with you. Okay, moving on. Why use an inspection checklist? And of course, I've got a couple picture there of pilots. Pilots live and die by checklists, and airplane accidents are always in the news because they're scary and they're horrific, and they can be one of our worst nightmares if you're a flyer. But we all have the peace of mind of knowing that the pilots in the cockpit are required by the FAA to go through a pre-flight checklist every single time. And they do that very seriously, very diligently. Pilots get out and walk around the plane. I don't know if you've noticed that, but that's part of their checklist. They have to do a visual inspection themselves. And these are all best practices. And it's not a shortcut that is ever allowed to happen. And in my business, our inspection checklists were treated the same way. Whether it was a demand call or an SPP, we took our inspection checklist very seriously. And the sequence, the order in which we checked things, what we did with those was all very orchestrated, very professional, and very organized. And as a result, we got incredible results and happy customers. That's the goal. So why do we do it? We don't want to miss important steps. We can't commit everything to memory. If we try to remember everything that we should be checking, you're going to forget stuff. And you saw how comprehensive those checklists were that we just covered. There's a lot of data on there. So there's a lot of stuff we're looking at. You're not going to remember it. And secondly, this gives you a place to document it. It also builds value in our service. So the more thorough we are, the more we educate. When we really do a thorough, amazing job for our customer and create that wow experience, that builds a lot of value in what we do. And as a result of that, for our service partner plan customers, they're a lot more likely to continue to use our services. If we go out there and we really never do that much, or the reality of it is if we never find a problem, that it doesn't build value with our customer. So let me clarify that a little bit. Customers really don't want you to find problems, but by the same token, if you never notice anything, they really don't see the value in what you're offering. So I'll give you an example. I have a motorcycle that I'm a motorcycle freak. I have several motorcycles, but I've got one that is my daily mule. I ride this motorcycle every day. It has 158,000 miles on it. I haven't had my valves adjusted in over 100,000 miles. They're supposed to be done about I think every 16,000 miles or so. But I took it in religiously for the first 3 checks. It was always within spec, so I didn't see the value in continuing to do it. It's always in spec. Why bother spending the extra $500 to get that done, right? So that whether that's right or wrong is obvious, but the reality of it is I didn't see the value in it because it was fine. It was within specs every time. So your customers are going to feel the same way. And so I'm not suggesting that you find things wrong, but the reality of it is if you go into a home and you don't notice 3 at a minimum plumbing things that need attention, you've got your blinders on. The opportunities are there in every home for things that you can notice, share with the customer to make their lives better, make their home safer. We just have to be thorough and look for it. Our customers expect it. If you've developed a culture of using a checklist in there, and if you're the one technician that goes in and doesn't use it, then that's inconsistent service. So if you've conditioned your customers to use and expect a checklist, that's a win-win. But if you fail to deliver that when you go out there for that experience, then that's a miss. The checklist is designed to also help us reduce preventable emergencies. And that's really what this is all about, because you could do a fantastic job today. Your customer could love you, but if they have a leak 3 weeks from now, the first thing that goes through their mind is, he was just out here. Why didn't he notice that? And it's just human nature. You know, when they spent money and they had a plumber in their house or an air conditioning guy or an electrician, they always look back to, why didn't we catch that? And I can tell you as an operator, I've had a lot more angry phone calls from customers from the things my guys didn't do than the things they did. So we want to reduce preventable emergencies. You know, if we notice that the water risers under the sink are old, cheap, builder's grade, make note of it. You know, even if the customer chooses not to act on everything you recommend today, that's fine. Our job is to put it out there and educate them to let them know this is a potential problem. This could potentially flood your home. Washing machine hoses, things like that. Determine cause and effect. And again, we're not just looking for the problem, but we're also looking for what is the root cause of the problem, not just the symptom. So things like taking the pressure within the house on the pressure reducing valves and regulating valve, that type of stuff. Look for cause and effect, not just the symptom. Reduce potential property damage. That's not only expensive, but sometimes the liability could fall back on you, or at least it might be a fight that you have to fight. And finally, to educate our customers on potential improvements to their home. There are always things that we as professionals know about that our customers don't. And our job is to help them make their lives better, to uncover the things that they can be excited about and would improve their lifestyle. Years ago, and I've shared this story with many of you, but several years ago, my boss called me into the office and said, "What is your job?" I said, "I don't know," because I knew he was going to tell me. He said, "Your job is to find 3 things on every call." And I know that sounds bad, but I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Let me ask you a question. How many of your customers have the 21 SEER heating and air conditioning system, brand new ductwork, completely zoned out, state-of-the-art controls, premium air filtration package with a UV light, everything is just perfect in their home?" And I said, "Hardly any of my customers fit that description." And he said, "Exactly. So do the rest of the customers that you service not deserve to have those things?" I said, "Well, of course they do." He said, "Well, that's your job, is to share those things with them and help them understand what they might be missing out on." And I know it sounds really simple, but it was really a big aha moment for me as a technician, that really, instead of approaching this with the mindset of I'm here to sell them things, my job is to help make their lives better, make their systems better. So there are a lot of things that we can offer that would just really change customers' lives that they might not even know about. Air filtration, Toto washlets, tankless water heaters, whole house filtration systems. on and on and on. State-of-the-art controls. Just these things are fantastic, and customers don't even know what they're missing sometimes. So when should we use the checklist? Well, we should always use them on maintenance visits, clubs, system checks, any advertised tune-ups, of course. I also recommend using them on demand calls, all right, whenever possible. Anytime you have an opportunity to use your checklist, this is a tool that can help you. Okay. And some of you might be thinking, well, I don't really have time for that. You know, if you have a very heavy call volume, um, trying to go through a checklist and take the time, it can really slow you down. Yeah, I get that. Um, the right answer to that problem is we should be slowing down. We should be more thorough with our customers. So a doctor uses system diagnosis approach on every call to uncover problems, right? And so blood pressure is I don't care if you go to your doctor for a heart attack or a hangnail. The first thing they do is they put the cuff on you, whether you're old or young. They want to check your blood pressure because they know that the blood pressure can tell you a lot of things about what's going on in your body. And much like us as plumbers and air conditioning, there are certain diagnostics that we do on your home, like checking the pressure of the outside hose bib to see what is the pressure of the water entering the home. Or for an HVAC technician, what is the temperature differential that we notice, between the supply and returns? These are basic system diagnosis that we should be doing too. And the checklist is where we capture those things. Next, I've got the summary of findings. And again, the checklist tools are designed to help you found the observations. So as we notice, uncover, or the customer shares with us things that need to be addressed, those all live up in the observation category. This is the plumbing or electrical example. It shows us 6 bundled options. So if it lives up here in the observation category, we should also have a solution for that bullet point down here in the findings. So if it lives down here, it should have originated up here. If there's reference to an issue here, we should have a solution for it down below. All right. Option number 1 in the plumbing and electrical world would be the whole enchilada. This is the best offering that we can share with our customer. And again, not that we expect the customer to always choose this, but this would be, hey, let's take money away from this equation for a moment. And if I could make your home the absolute best that it could be, these would be the things that I would recommend for your plumbing system. And then we go down in offerings or choices until we get down to the very bottom, which is the immediate need today. What is the bare minimum I need to do to get you back on the road? Okay. Now, we typically don't want our customer to choose option 6. That's the lowest possible denominator on the bundle there. Unjam the disposal in this example. Do we want our customers to unjam their disposals? No, that's probably not the best solution for them. But we still have to offer it because it's their choice, not ours. And if another plumbing company comes out there behind you and your minimum offering was the $1,500 disposer here in this example, and well, let's say it was the $740 disposal, and another plumbing company came out there behind you, took the little wrench out of the bag and gave the disposal a spin and freed it up for 75 bucks. I guarantee you're going to get a complaint. You're going to get blown up on a review. So we didn't give the customer all the choices, and so that's why going all the way down to option number 6 and giving them what is the bare minimum. ABC. This is the latest example, and again, this is the newest one from the Road Guide that shows the proper way to build the bundles for HVAC. Again, the process is the same on the observations area. Anything that we notice, uncover through our checklist of system evaluations or lifestyle questioning lives up here in the observations, and then the solutions for that should live down below. And at the ABC approach, we're going to put the immediate repair first in this time. So the immediate repair, what is the bare minimum we need to do to get you taken care of, get you operational today? Here's your investment, here's the dollars, 1 year parts and labor. And then option B is going to be system renovation and enhancements. And again, itemized. Each one of these are itemized. If you don't itemize these and you come up with a big figure at the bottom here, the customer is more likely to choose A than they are B. But if you a la carte this, then they might choose some things out of here and add that to A. So that's going to be a better solution for the customer and a higher average ticket for you. And if they choose option number C, oh shucks, maybe it's time to have a comfort consultant talk to you about replacement. That's the goal on any opportunity for system repair. If you've got an old system, we want to make sure that we're always giving them their choices. Okay. And I say old system because generally we're going to define what we call an opportunity call in HVAC world, but by always giving an offering for maybe you want to talk about replacement and letting the customer know that that's an option, they have their choices. And that's our job, is to give the customer all of their choices. Now is the perfect time to revisit the checklist because we're going into summertime, especially for HVAC technicians. This is the perfect time to be using those. In many areas, we haven't hit the HVAC season yet, so we're still doing a lot of tune-ups. This is the perfect time to break out those checklists and endorse them, use them. Plumbers, electricians, any time is a great time to use the checklist. Okay, what is the result? Happier customers. If we've been thorough, if we've been professional, if we've given them lots of choices, the right choices for their situation, they're going to be happier and they're going to feel better about the service that we gave them. You're going to get less callbacks because you were more thorough and you're going to have less things to come back to haunt you. And if you've been thorough in your checklist, instead of this being a callback, this ends up being what we call an opportunity call. If you were thorough in your checklist, you noticed some things that needed their attention, and then they failed a week or 2 or 3 later, and the customer calls you back, suddenly you're not the guy that wasn't thorough or missed it. You're the expert that made a recommendation that we really should address that. So even if it's something that we don't necessarily recommend that happens on today's visit, if it's a weak area, put it down there. One example of that comes to my mind would be if you're a HVAC technician and you're working on a furnace, and if you're on a heater that is, let's say it's 10 years old, that still has the original induced draft motor. We all know that the life expectancy on an induced draft motor is typically between 8 and 12 years old. That's pretty typical crap out date, maybe even earlier. But if I see a motor of that age, I'm always going to recommend that for replacement because I know that that's about the time that those things fail. And those things typically fail in the middle of the night, and our job is to give them a solution for that. Okay. So even though it might not necessarily show you the weakness, but if you know from your experience that that's a weak link, hot surface igniters, things like that, make note of it. Be thorough. And it doesn't mean you tell a customer they have to do it. We're just documenting the fact that this is a potential problem based on my experience. And I'm not suggesting you have to address this today, but you're in the repair cycle age for this particular component. Okay. So again, we're not trying to sell them anything. We're being thorough and we're documenting it. All right. What customer wouldn't like that? Increased revenue by being thorough, and there's more money to be made in the trades by being thorough and honest than there is by being scandalous. All right. So if you're thorough, if you're educating your customer, the revenue is going to be there. And for you personally, that typically ties into increased income from spiffs, bonuses, or that type of stuff. All right. What questions do we have? All right. Our next Tap In Live call will be on Friday, June 4th, and it will be at the same time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, Friday, June 4th. All right. I look forward to seeing you then.